What's up? What's going on? I am Laquan Copeland. I play Ricky in the new film Midas, coming out in theaters June 28th, and you are now tuning in to SUAVV Sessions. Thank you.
All right, so welcome to the platform.
Thank you so much for having me.
I know I'm going to enjoy this, so it's just hands down. You see, I'm smiling. So how did you get into the industry? Like, how long have you been in the entertainment industry?
Man, that's a great question. You know what? When I think about it now, I came out to LA and took it seriously and pursued like acting, writing, directing in 2017. So we're in 2024.
Okay.
About 8 years looking by it now. But yeah, about six, I would say 6 or 7 years professionally, because I really started kind of like, I came to
Where'd you move to LA from?
Columbus, Georgia. So I'm a Southern boy. Yeah, I'm from Georgia. And originally, at that point in time, I lived in Columbus, Georgia, which is a little bit outside of Atlanta. At that time, Atlanta was really on the rise and becoming the conglomerate market that it is today, but it was still on the rise. So, of course, you bring up Atlanta, the first thing people go to is, oh, you want to be the next Tyler Perry, you want to be the next this, you want to be the next that, because it was still heavily rising. And so I was going up there for training, and I remember I just had this gut feeling that I wanted to be in LA, and made the steps to come out there. Easily said than done, but yeah, we got out to LA in 2017, and that's when I really started to take my career seriously when I had turned 20. And that's kind of.
But it's funny because one of my best friends, like my older brother, I was sticking my toe in the acting pool. It was like, you can live in LA, you can live in New York, you can live in Georgia, but your auditions and like your opportunities are going to be in LA. Like that's where the studio houses are. That's where that's going to happen. They're going to film in Atlanta. And if you want to wait until you can audition in Atlanta, there's going to be extra parts. So it was like, if you want it, you got to be where it's at. So I was like, I listened, but I realized like the industry, that's not for me. And you got to respect the people who are in it. Like much respect to y'all for doing it. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot to deal with. It's not just the competition. It's the mindset that has to go in with it. You have to be willing to like drop everything sometimes and be like, I got to audition in an hour that I just found out about 20 minutes ago. Like, I got to dip. Work or not, like at work, and just be like, I got to dip. I got to go like now. I'm sorry.
You just said, honestly, you just summed up what our career is. And I think that's the thing that people don't get to see, honestly. You'll see the projects. And I think that's why as artists, that's why each win means so much, because you realize the sacrifices that you make. Like you said, literally, an audition come and you got to go in front of casting directors, producers, directors, in the midst of everything and be this prepared, top-notch actor. And you didn't know, they don't know that you just got the call 30 minutes ago and that you got this going on in your life, or that you got this that just happened urgently. You got to put on this kind of face, and it's like, I gotta act, I gotta do my job. And I think that's the duality of our career. And like you said, it is a kind of mindset required to do it. And I respect those who do it. I respect those who understand it as well, because it is a profession that they call us crazy for. But I feel like when you love what you do, and when the purpose is bigger, the passion is bigger, and that's what drives you, it'll make sense. If it's in line with you.
You just gotta. You got to be strong. It takes a strong mentality, because rejection is like second nature with y'all. And like everyone I talk to that's in the industry, I express that I understand that you have to have the ability to take the rejection and know it's not about you. And and just like keep moving forward, because again, it can just be not that you're the problem. The person who's already cast may be like 2 inches shorter than what they need to be matched with you. And it's like, I can't use you because it's going to go like this when I just need it like that. Like simple things. Like we cast a father and you don't look enough like the mom or the dad, so we can't go with that. And then to get a project done
Yep.
have it finished,
you go.
and then they're like, you know what? Never mind.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
It's just, yeah. I knew, I was like, no, this is not me. Like maybe I'll get like a Morgan Freeman kind of thing and start at like 60, but I just not today.
But you know what, Rashod, that takes a lot to, even come to that understanding. And then shout out to you because even like I said originally before we started, it's amazing what you've been able to do to pivot and then form what you have formatted today,
Yeah.
to give artists like us a platform. So I think it's in that knowing too, like don't underestimate that, because I think sometimes you realize some things are for you and some things are not. And then when you realize that some things are not, it helps derail you and correct your path to what you really are like here to do. And then because look at what you're doing now,
And that's the thing. And even sometimes knots are just, it's not at all, but it's just like not yet, not right now.
There you
Like,
go. There you go.
Like just know that there's a possibility, but just not right now.
You let me
And
know.
I understand it.
I was gonna say,
tell me when you're ready.
Yes, sir. I was gonna say, if QC get any role, I'm like, Rashod, are you available?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you need a journalist, like I'm game. I got it. Script for what? Like, good. So when you making the leap, especially from Columbus, because as you know, I'm in Atlanta. Being from Columbus, making that leap to LA, it's a very different world. Georgians are very, come here, baby, give me a hug kind of people. LA's like,
who is this?
Who are you?
Yep.
Who do you know? Because if you're connected to somebody, we can be friends. If you're not, maybe not. So how do you navigate that? Like getting there and like digging into this industry?
Man, that's such a great question. When I first got out here, it's exactly what you said. Coming from Georgia and just being a Southern boy at heart, we're raised on Southern hospitality, making people feel welcome. And I think it was a culture shock for me in the beginning because it took a minute to me to get acclimated to LA because LA is not like that. Doesn't mean that LA is bad or, has this kind of disconnect, but they don't have any kind of Southern hospitality or anything. So it was a little shock to kind of gravitate to and get acclimated to. What I prided myself in was learning the culture of LA, learning the flow. And it's like you said, everybody knows somebody, but at the end of the day, it's like who you know, but more importantly, who knows you. And you really starting from the ground up, you really have to lay out the foundation, especially if there's no networks, there's no nepotism, no connects involved. And it was honestly a monotonous kind of process for me in the beginning because, you have, like you said, this kind of big jump from the South over all the way over here to the West Coast where we are. I think the biggest thing was it goes back to that purpose and your passion is that you know that you're not only supposed to be here, but you're called here to complete this mission and that assignment. And anything that kind of gets in the way of that, you don't pay a dust. You pay attention. And I'm grateful that it was that passion, honestly, that really fueled me in terms of, okay, let's figure it out. Because now we're here. So what are short films? What are student films? I need to have a demo reel. What does that look like? What do headshots look like? Is this green? How do I go from green to experience? And you start coming across this person that's connected to that person, that's connected to this person, that's connected to that person. And slowly but surely, what I've realized with us just as people, as long as we continue to stay dedicated, stay consistent, and keep that passion fueling us, eventually, it may take a little bit of patience, but eventually we'll get right on that path where we're going.
Yeah. And it's funny. I tell people ask me like how I enjoyed my LA experience. I'm like, I knew 3 months in, like not me, like moved back to the East Coast.
Yeah.
And the mistake that I made, I moved to LA from New York, and I got there and I compared the two cities drastically.
Yeah.
And New York will never be LA. LA will never be New York. And it took me maybe about a year to figure that out. But that was the first problem. The second one is you tell people, or people say, don't burn bridges. And the problem that I have, but what I realized, it's not about burning bridges. It's about crossing bridges by yourself. Because when you take people with you, there's expectations that come along. And the moment you don't meet somebody's expectations, now they're upset. And now I'm gonna go tell this other person that you ain't this and you ain't that. And I let you let people too close in that shouldn't be that wrapped up in who you are and what you're doing. And and like you said, it's learning the culture. Like LA is a different monster. Like there's a lot of schmoozing
Yeah.
and meeting and networking and, befriending people that you have to do. And you have to teeter that line of, do I go to this person's birthday party or no? Like, if I stay home, is that a bad look? If I go, is it like making it seem like I'm trying? There's a lot of like extra thinking that you have to do that you don't have to do here.
Yeah.
You ride down the street, especially Columbus. You ride down the street, you beep the horn, people wave at you. They don't know who the car is. And it's like, who was that? Like, I don't know. They beep. So
that's so true. No, I don't mean to interject. Go ahead.
no, you're right.
Yeah.
I'm saying it's just they don't know. But it's like they don't care. It's welcoming, and you're never overstepping. It's just a matter of, once you're here, don't do us wrong. Exactly. And you're fine. You can be family in 2 weeks, and there's no problem.
Yeah. It's crazy because, man, you touch on so many key points. That's the thing. I think when you started with burning bridges, it's something that like my family really raised me on, especially my dad. He's like, you don't want to burn bridges, but you spoke on it correctly, where it's like sometimes you do have to cross bridges yourself. And it's really important to understand who's really for you, and who's really for you for what you have access to. And I think one of the things that I learned early on in LA specifically is, your network really is your net worth. And it's so small. The industry really is so small to the point where you really do have to navigate your relationships and understand and really delineate, okay, are these relationships, can I take them further and give them access to me personally, or should I keep it on a business level? And I think that's really the hard thing to differentiate when you're out here specifically, just because everybody is coming to what's called the land of opportunity. So in some ways, a lot of people are, what can I get from this person? What can this person get from me? And then you actually come across genuine people who don't want nothing in return, just like your personality, just like you, or want to help you. And I think it's those people that you stick with, and it's hard to come by, I will say, but it's those people, you'll know them from a dime a dozen, honestly. And I think going through LA alone, like you said, in comparison to LA and New York, I think it was interesting because I had that same duality. I came to LA first, but my career started taking me to New York when I had to film out there. And it was so interesting seeing the duality in both cities. And what I realized is that both of them are so uniquely different, right? And like you said, it's comparable almost, just because one gives you this and one gives you that. And I think it goes back to even us, just as Southern guys. It's like, what makes us whole? Because at the end of the day, although I'm out here in LA, I know that I can still go back home and I have my foundation there. And as long as that foundation is there, that foundation carries me throughout every aspect of LA. And even honestly makes it a lot more easier when you come across people who are either from LA or just from all over other parts, And so I
love meeting people that are from LA. Is like, that'll tell you, like, it's not the natives. It's like, we're different. Like, it's not us. Like, we're really cool people. It's just, it's funny when they do that. I love that what you're saying, when you move out there, you start trying to figure out your role in the industry. And to do that, you have to know all the things. Like, you have to put together your package, and like the investment that you put into yourself, between, again, classes and reels and headshots and like everything, you almost have to build yourself and build, I guess, your own resume, portfolio, however you want to say it. I'm not finding the right word for it, but you have to build that person and that thing. And there's a lot of mistakes that go into that. Because it's trial and error. Like, this may have worked for this person, it's not going to work for me. When you're building and realizing that you have to build the foundation to get to where you want to be in your career, how do you deal with trying to structure that so that it's actually going to work for you, if that makes sense at all?
Oh man, no, you said it perfectly. I think for me, what I learned, I was so fortunate that before I made the transition to LA, I'm so grateful that I grew up in this time, because we have access to technology, right? So we have access to like YouTube and different things. And just always studying acting, studying other actors, and learn. I would hear nuances throughout their interviews of like what they would go through in the industry. And it kind of prepared me in a lot of ways, because they were speaking on their experiences and understanding that experience for when I jump into that career. And so when I first got out to LA, and like you said, building that foundation to make sure it stuck and that it was for me, what was the big factors? We talked about auditioning, right? And all the nuances of how the industry can be kind of fickle. I cannot get the role because I'm too short, I'm too tall, I'm too black, I'm too light. I have hair, I don't have hair, I'm weird. And I think one of the things that I've learned, and what I always tell people, whatever industry or career that you want to go to, study it and really, really learn it so that by the time you really enter it, you get all of this experience, and the experience becomes your best teacher. Because throughout my career, while I was building the foundation, it was experience that taught me this, or going through this scenario that taught me that. So I'll give you an example. We talked about just the foundation of everything. When you're first starting out, you know, especially coming from the South, if you don't have no family involved in the entertainment industry, you go what's called through a lot of middleman agencies, as they are like to be called. They connect you. They say, hey, you want to be the next, you know, Hollywood star? Let's get you here. You pay $3,000. You come to these classes, da 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 da. And you not knowing, you know,
you do it.
Business. You're like, yeah, this is great. But going back to that example again of experience being your best teacher, when you go through those experiences and you see that they don't work out, I always say that it's no kind of failures. It's always lessons, because everything is working for your greater good. And so while building that foundation, the three key things that stuck with me always to kind of keep me afloat and just laser focused was that what's for me won't miss me. So any audition that I didn't get, I knew to take myself out of it and not take it personally, because if it was for me, it would be mine. The second thing was, why am I doing this? What was I called to do? How does that feel? You know? And so, and the third thing, really honestly, was that I do love it. I love it. I think you have to have some level of like craziness or some kind of deep love for what you do in order to block out the noise, because there will be oftentimes execs, agents, managers who don't see your vision, who don't see what you have to execute, or particularly who don't see your potential. And you have to be your biggest cheerleader. Going back to what we talked about, it was those three key things that helped me.
I'm gonna take it outside of execs and managers. It'd be family, it'd be friends, it'd be relationships. It's like, what are you doing? Be like, yo, just trust me for like 3 more weeks. Like, just follow me, try it. And that's hard, because I find that the people that you expect to be your biggest cheerleaders aren't. The people that you don't expect to be your cheerleaders are. And it's like, there's this stranger on social media who's like, you're amazing, keep going, like, you got this, you're right there. And it's like, damn, my mom just told me to go get a job yesterday. And she was like, yo, cut this out, like, go to work, like, I'm not doing this anymore. So it's crazy. You have to, that's why I say, like, especially for y'all, like, the mentality has to be really strong, because it can be a stretch before the thing comes. And then it's like, you start doing, again, like the student films and the shorts, and you're like, oh, I booked this, I booked that. And first question from family is like, oh, so how much money did you make from it? Like, it's not paying. It's just like, it's the experience. Like, it's not paying. So you're working for free, is what you're saying. And it's like trying to explain, like, I have to go through this process to get to this point, which takes me back to how important it is to have a circle of support of people that truly understands what it is that you're doing. So when you build that and you start, you know, you start booking and you start having opportunities, and what I find, especially in LA, in the acting industry, is most people, when they get in, you go and you grab the people that were there with you in the beginning. It's like, yo, I got this part in this thing that I'm doing. They look for somebody. I think you work. Can you make your head 10 o'clock? And again, that's where you have to, as an actor, be like, sorry, I'm at work, gotta go, and leave and like take the opportunity, because you never know when the next one's coming.
So true. So true. I think when you touched on a few key things there, and I'll interject, I feel like it goes back to your vision as well, because your vision and that drive for that vision has to be louder than any person's opinion. Because a lot of times, especially when you go back to family, a lot of times it's just them projecting their fears, you know, onto you, especially if you're doing something completely different of something that they've never pursued before. But in that same duality, you really have to give them grace because it's something that they've never pursued or seen done before. And you have to be that example. So like, I could think of my mom as an example. You know, my mom, she's really like really cool, but at the same time, you know, she didn't know anything about the entertainment industry and didn't know anything about it. She was like, why would you want to, you know, do this? And did not see it for me until that first kind of big role came. And then it's like sometimes they see it. Sometimes it takes people to see it to believe it, of course. And once you know, they see it, it's like, oh, support really comes. And you have your genuine supporters who know from the beginning. And then you have some who kind of have to see it and believe it. But the most important thing is that you have that vision for yourself. Because when you really do have that vision for yourself, it's like that way you can really, really differentiate and, you know, wave out like opinions and like different matters.
Yeah. So to get to your project now, you have Midas, which just the concept of it, I love. So you're a college dropout and you decide to get with your friend and be like, yo, we're going to go and take this insurance industry and just get this money because they denied coverage for your mom. Which I think just about everybody can understand why you would go after an insurance company. It's why was this project important at this point?
You know what? I think it really starts with the director, and shout out to the great director, T.J. Noel Sullivan, who directed this, as well as the producers attached. It was so important, I think, to tell a story because, for one, he did a great job at creating a coming of age new version, new look at a heist film. You know, you see so many heist films and you have the action packed. You know, you got the drugs, you got the gangs, you got the violence, this, that, and the third. And for me, what really attracted me to this project was Ricky, you know, the character I portray, but also the really contextualization of this entire piece in a heist format, because it was something that I had never seen before. Like you said, you have these three kids who come together and they want to pull this big heist on an insurance company who, honestly, like we all know, some companies do finesse us, you know, but for the greater good, they have a bigger purpose as to why each of them individually do this. But Ricky's purpose is because of his mom, you know what I'm saying? Because of her sickness, because she's ill. And, you know, I feel like as people, sometimes when you're pushed to a certain point where there's no end and your back is against the wall, you will do any and everything to get an opportunity to save a life, to be there, especially take care of the ones you love. And so I felt like that was the basis of this project. And I think that was what attracted me most. And then why I thought that it was so uniquely different from the projects that I've seen, especially equating it to heist films.
Yeah, I thought about it when I read the description. I was like, if it's my mom, it's a wrap. Like, I do whatever it takes. I'm John Q in the hospital. Like, it's just, you understand. Like, it's just, yo, y'all gonna do something. Like, this ain't gonna work. So it's like I understood that character, and I think that anybody that will watch this and can put themselves in that shoe is gonna say absolutely, like whatever it takes, because of all people that you can watch something happen to, you're not gonna do it to my mom.
100%.
Like that's not gonna happen. Like we all gonna have to go. Like, it's just, and that's the reality, especially with men. Like we rock with mom a little differently.
Yeah, that's so true. So, my dad always says that. He always says, like, y'all connected to your mom because y'all was connected to her in the womb. But, you know, dads get the love too. But you're right. Like, moms, they know the different little weight in our corner. They do. You know, because at the end of the day, it's our love for women. And we come from women. So at the same time, it's nothing to do more than to cherish them.
Right. Absolutely. So when you're filming, what's the thing that you took away from this opportunity that you probably wouldn't have gotten in other ones?
Such a great question. You know, the director, he flew us out to Hartford. You know, he's originally from Hartford, and he wanted to film the entire film in Hartford, Connecticut, because it's one of the biggest capitals for insurance. And so he flew us out there, and we filmed the whole entire film. We were there for like a good month. And it was an interesting thing for me because what was so rewarding was the culture of Hartford, which I was so enamored with. project. I remember the first day that we got there, it was just kind of like your generals, kind of like your meet and greets. And we did a truck festival. It was a whole truck jazz festival that we did, where we just really got to see the richness and the beauty in Hartford. And I can't tell you what that does for you on a personal level, but also just for your character when you're conceptualizing your character to portray. It really resonated with me how much just love that this city really had. And so that was one of the most beautiful things about filming this project. The next thing was the camaraderie, between me and my cast members. I'm looking now because I got the poster up on my wall, but it was those aspects that I can honestly say everybody on that film set was given 110% from the producers, from the directors, from the PAs to the PCs, production coordinators, the ADs, and more in the cast. And we just believed that we had something great, and it was just a great space for artists to just come and create. And I think anytime you give us that, it's always fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving forward, what is your, I mean, goal is obvious, is success. What do you ultimately want that success to look like?
That's the one. I think for me, I started out in my career, really pinpointing acting, and then I continued to develop my craft as a writer and director. And most recently, I'm grateful I had successfully created an online digital platform called All Black Anime that's responsible for the show that we're creating called Satori. And really wanted to take control of the anime and animated spaces and show Black representation and really shine a light on those marginalized stories that we don't get to see, especially within the Black community, but show it in a different way. And that's one thing that I've really been proud of, because it's something that we've cultivated and created. And what I always tell artists, actors, creatives, always create your own table, whether it's leveraging yourself on social media, whether it's creating your own ideas, writing your own things, but don't just have that one thing. Because I think the best thing about me being an actor was that I wasn't never frustrated or stressed about when's the next audition or all over the place, because I was able to have my kind of own table that was building and developing over here.
Yeah.
And so what the end goal of success looks like for me, I would eventually like to create and write and produce my own television series, kind of like an Atlanta, kind of like an Insecure, but also on an animated space, do that as well. And at the same duality, kind of have my acting career and really get to be meticulous about the projects that I attach my name to as I continue to grow. Because the big thing that I want to do is do well, meaningful projects that really create a level of potency for, the audiences that are watching. So that's kind of like my goal in 3. We're working towards it, but
yeah, it's crazy. I talked to Russell Hornsby.
Okay.
And I asked him the question about like accepting roles and how do you dictate what you want and what you don't want. And he was just like flat out, like once I put myself in the mindset of knowing that once it's filmed, it's there forever. Yeah. So I started thinking about like what I attach myself to and not being afraid to say no. And he was like, and that's the hard part of the industry, because you can say no and then not work for a year and a half, but you have to be willing to walk away from something that isn't right for you.
So true.
And I was like, I said, yeah, that's why I'm not an actor. So I'd be like, what's the paycheck? I'll see y'all tomorrow.
Look, I'm telling you that, and that's the life of it. I think he said that so eloquently. I think you couldn't have said it better. That's kind of the duality. I think in that same context, that's the big point of having your own stuff nowadays too, though, so that it's not acting isn't your only sole focus, but also so that you can be meticulous about what you choose to be attached to, like Russell said, because at the end of the day, when people look at these projects, that'll be here until the end of time. And I would at least speak for myself. I would like to leave behind a legacy of work that can be, studied, that can be, admired, and hopefully just resonate with a lot of people over time. Yeah. But most importantly, I think that, like I say, for any actor too, like definitely have other things going on in terms of for yourself that you can cultivate as well as your passions, because, you'll find that it's so much more that you'll have to offer than this one thing in case this one thing starts getting a little finicky, because sometimes it does. And you have to be able to maneuver through that in that way to stay on top in this industry.
Yeah, because it's going to get finicky. It's going to hit. You're going to hit that wave. You're going to go up, and that wave going to come straight back down. It's just, and I think that's with any industry.
Yeah.
which is why like it's hard when you step out on your own, because you have to figure that out and know when those lows are going to come. You can't anticipate all of them, but when you start figuring out the times, it's like, okay, it's typically slow in the winter because we film this in the summer, or it's typically going to be bad at this time because weather's horrible over here. It's just you start navigating that, and you have to have something else that says when this slows down, this picks up. I can bounce over in here and do this, and everything stays balanced.
Yeah.
But it ain't easy. It is not easy. You gotta have your toe in some things.
So true.
Congratulations for figuring that out, man.
No, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. Like I say, I have to give you your flowers for providing the space for creators, for actors, writers, directors like myself to just come on here and share our story. Definitely take time to honestly give yourself that love and grace, because what you're doing is so exceptional. And I could not be more proud and honored to speak with you about everything as well. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about Midas.
I appreciate that, man. It's a film that all y'all need to go watch. Figure it out. Like, find a weekend, get your crew together and go watch it.
Come on. Look, Midas in theaters. In theaters, June 28th. Tell the family, tell your friends, tell everybody to come out and check it. So thank you so much.
That's dope. And I, let people know it's okay to take a picture of the screen. Don't film it. It's already filmed. Don't record.
Look. Some people, my dad is so crazy. My dad did that at the premiere where he was recording and didn't know the flash. I was like, Dad. And it was my fault.
But see, it's your film. You feel like he cool.
Yeah, I'm like, y'all
He's just proud.
Yeah, but you're exactly right. Y'all please go in there and just watch the film.
Exactly.